So here we are with part 2. It is Wednesday, the day after part 1, and the case hasn't turned up. But what has turned up is the extra SATA cable that I ordered. So I've hooked up the burner, and we're going to install Windows on the desk here. So that's pretty cool. The burner looks really nice. It's going to be a good test out for it. Let's just pop in the disk and close her up. Now then, let's see what this machine makes of this. Now I believe I've set the first boot device to the optical drive. I think I have anyway. I've got a little mouse hooked up because we're going to be doing a Windows install. Windows 7 Ultimate 64-bit. Boot from CD. Press any key to boot from CD or DVD. Very cool. So it's recognised the drive and everything. Looking good. I've shoved the Wi-Fi card in. It's got a pretty blue light on it, as you can see. Everything's looking lovely. I'm really pleased with this little red fan. It shifts a lot of air. It's what I'm going to be using as the exhaust. So the intake's here and the exhaust is here. But I'm just using it to keep the air circulating over the motherboard now because it's sitting here on the desk. So, Windows is loading the files, which is very nice. Got a very temporary setup here, but as soon as I get the case, I'm going to bung everything in. So, for those of you who don't know about computers out there, this is basically everything that you have inside of your massive computer case on one very small desk. The reason they're so big, really, is because they have to have a lot of room for the expansion for the cards, as you can see. Thickness for things like the drives. But it's actually a very small amount of space needed, as you can see. And this power supply is going good at the moment. We've had no problems anyway. So yeah. Oh, and by the way, this SATA to Molex adapter, this Molex to SATA rather, is here, and it's got two SATA connections on it, which is really nice. So I only have to use one Molex to adapt to both the SATAs. Well, maybe I should use two, just so the power's a bit better. I'm not too sure. I'll have to sort of weigh up what I prefer, cable management or power efficiency or whatever. But anyway, Windows is still loading the files, so when I get some significant progress, I'll update you. Okay, so we've got a blue screen of death, and I bet you it's that network card. These network cards always trip me out. What I'll have to do is unplug it, install Windows, install the drivers that came with it on that little CD, and then plug it in, because it's tripping out Windows. But anyway, my dad kept a massive secret from me. It's the afternoon. I've been into college this morning to have a look around the new college that I'm going to be going to next year. It looks really cool, but anyway, that's not what this video is about. And all of a sudden I walked downstairs and there it was. I've just unboxed it now. Sorry I didn't get it on camera. But here it is. Their new computer case. And you want to know a fact about this case, guys? It is the cheapest priced case on eBay. This case cost £10.63. It's very small. It looks micro ATX. However, it takes the ATX motherboards. It just doesn't have a standard mounted power supply. That is a gorgeous case. It is very good for the money. You're getting a lovely case. It's extremely light. It's very light, and it'll be no good for LAN parties or anything like that, taking it around. But for sitting in one, corner with a little computer in it, it's very nice. And one thing that they sometimes skimp out on, text message in the background, one thing they sometimes skimp out on in things like this is the switches. Here the switches are very nice quality. As you can see, it's got your standard front I/O. It's got a 3.25, 3.5 and 3 5.25. There you go. Coming around the back, you've got a standard motherboard I/O shield, 80mm. And then your expansion slots. There's quite a lot of expansion slots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 I'd say. Yeah, 6 expansion slots, and there's your power connection down there, as I use the zoom facility on my camera far too much. But anyway, there it is. You can get it in a variety of colours. This happens to be the nice sort of burgundy red colour. It's very nice. It matches the sofa downstairs, so that's pretty cool, and it's a nice little system. So I'm going to shut this guy down And yeah, I'm going to get started putting this together. This will be very cool. Obviously I'm going to document the whole thing. Awesome. So here's the inside of the case. Something very cool about this guy is this power cord going along here. It saves space. It goes down next to the power supply. I've installed the power supply so I can show you how it works. If I move this down, you can see it just comes under there and just plugs straight in. This is really cool. The feet are tall enough on the case, as you can see it clears it really well. And I guess this is to save space and to save money. It's quite a cool little feature. All the metal's quite cheap, but what do you expect for a case that costs about a tenner with 5 delivery? I've got the drive in. The reason I put the drive in is because I think it's going to be quite hard to slide in once the motherboard's installed, but I guess I could have done it from the front, but yeah, I put that in anyway. I thought it'd be easier. And the hard drive mount's just back there, so that's pretty cool. But I'm going to put the motherboard standoffs on now and see if the board will fit. It looks as if it's going to fit. It said it worked with ATX boards, but this case just seems so small compared to all the other cases that I've seen. But anyway, I'll update you in a bit. So the build is coming on really nicely. You can see we've got the motherboard in. That is a full-size ATX motherboard. It's standard ATX, but the case, you can get a real idea for the case now because the motherboard is basically really close to the top and pretty much touching the bottom. They didn't include enough standoffs actually, so I had to use some that I had lying around. You can see the I/O shield back there. At least the cheap case and the cheap I/O shield match up, so if you keep everything cheap, then everything looks good. Let's just hope it works in a few years. Anyway, I've got the DVD drive as you saw earlier. I just need to do the hard drive and the case fan and then we can begin all the wiring. Coming out of the power supply, I've only got the main 24 and the 4 and a couple of Molexes. I've shoved the other, if you take a look at this power supply here, you can see that they give you 2 sort of sets of Molex connections. I've shoved the first one. There's a little bit of a gap in there in front of the power supply, and if you look through the vents at the front of the computer, you guys won't be able to see, but basically I've hidden some wires back there, so that's a good place to hide wires. And as far as the front I/O goes, all of the stuff is coming from here for the front I/O, and I can shove that straight in there, which is really cool. So we've got that case fan in. It's looking really nice, as you can see. Little look from the back. Awesome. It does fit a 92mm fan. I think that's 92mm. But anyway, got the hard drive in there. Need a bit of a light on the scene. There, you can see that. The hard disk is sitting in there very nicely. Screwed in with 2 screws. I'm not sure if I'm meant to be putting it there. You can put it underneath, but I just shoved it there. The other space is for like a floppy drive, as you can see at the front here. So, yeah. What is that, I hear you say? Power LED? Everything's going. We've got Windows loading up. And everything's together. This is a rough cable management job. Everyone knows, do not tie down your cables until you've made sure that everything works. Let me grab my torch. Those little motherboard connections are a nightmare, but got them all done, including audio. But as you can see, got a lot of cable management work to be getting on with. But I'm just going to get Windows and stuff installed first, and we'll see how everything runs. So everyone, I'm really sorry for the lighting. I've got a torch here, but basically the whole system's done. This mounting bracket for the cards is very flimsy. Doesn't hold the cards in very well. They've got a bit of give to them, but they can be screwed in. I might do that at a later date. Not sure. It's not too much of an issue considering this thing will always be in the same place. I've done a little bit as far as cable management goes. This power supply isn't modular, so as you can see, the main area on the motherboard is very free. Just got the 4-pin going straight across there, and got all the cables sort of wedged under there. Got a couple up there. They're not pushing down on the hard drive or anything like that, so it's pretty good. And just got a couple of cable ties holding them down there. So all in all, pretty good. And I'm going to put the side panels back on now and fire up this system. Oh, and by the way, I didn't use the 80 gig drive. I got lazy and used the original 320 gig drive that I had in this system to test it. 320 gigs is a nice size for a system like this, and it already had Windows 7 on it. So here's the system all back together. You can see it's powered on there, and I've got the mouse in the front USB port just to test it out, and it is working fine. That LED does look a lot cooler off camera. But let's just go around to the back. and you can see we're all fired up with the Wi-Fi card. Everything's working cool. There's air coming out of there. And then this is the boot up process. It just restarted after some updates, so you guys can check out the boot process. I've got everything pretty much set up, ready to go. I just need to move it downstairs, plug it into mum and dad's monitor, keyboard and mouse, and bring their old computer up here, get the files off, blah blah blah, boring stuff. As you can see, Windows 7's booting up. This is Home Premium, I think they call it. I got lazy and just used the original drive that, I think I explained all that anyway. Here's a little cursor. You get the general idea anyway. Screen isn't coming up very well on the camera. It's doing some updates and whatnot because haven't used this install of Windows 7 in a long time, so it's connected to the internet now, so it's doing a lot of updating. But anyway, you can see it's all working fine. It turned out really nice. It's a lovely looking case and I'm really pleased with it. So feel free to post your comments as usual. Thanks very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.